Elsewhere in Berlin, the night was still. It had been a long time since things had been this quiet. The Red Army had virtually surrounded the city, bringing the German army to its knees after a month of fierce fighting. In the first 6 days of the battle, they had fired 1,236 shells into Berlin, 100,000 tons of steel. Now they had stopped the bombardment, and the British and Americans were no longer bombing. The sounds of war appeared to have washed over the city in a tidal wave of explosions and fire, leaving it destitute and derelict. Some facades of the more resilient structures remained, flames still licking around the soot-encrusted shattered windows of this one, smoke coming from that one, all of them looking as if they might tumble into the street at any moment. Rubble, broken furniture, bricks and glass spilled from the footpaths, where abandoned trucks, trams and military vehicles slowly burned, sending ribbons of acrid smoke into the dark night sky. Bodies lay crumpled and broken, frozen in strange positions. Soldiers, civilians, the ghastly faces of dead horses. It was a scene from the apocalypse. During the preceding day, large numbers of German soldiers had crept out of their hidey holes, waving white flags, a mixture of battle-hardened SS and terrified teenagers who had fought alongside weary old-age pensioners from Joseph Goebbels' Volkssturm, the People's Army. The Russians had attacked Berlin with 2,500,000 soldiers, 6,000 tanks, 7,000 aircraft, and 41,000 artillery pieces. The Germans scraped together 1 million soldiers and 800 tanks. It was a bloodbath, and soon they would be lining up the bodies in the street, row after row of them. The city reeked of death and decay as the surviving German military were herded together and stripped of their weapons, which now lay in huge, unguarded piles. Rifles, anti-tank guns, binoculars, helmets and daggers. SS officers were pulled aside for questioning. Many of them were dealt with on the spot and shot by the Russians. The remaining prisoners stood around in groups, watching the ebullient Red Army celebrate with their strange dancing, arms over each other's shoulders, crouching on their haunches, kicking their legs out to the clapping and singing of the Komradies. If anyone knew how to celebrate, it was the Red Army. It had been a long, hard, terrible war, and the night was made for celebration. But Stalin had issued a stern warning to Marshal Zhukov, the Russian commander responsible for conquering Berlin. Churchill and President Truman had grave misgivings about possible Russian retaliation against the German civilian population, and Stalin wanted to be seen to be dignified and statesmanlike. Zhukov was not interested in politics. "Comrade Stalin, my Red Army has suffered 360,000 dead and wounded from this battle alone. I am told that the conflict in total will have cost Russia 27 million lives, civilians and military." Zhukov was speaking on the telephone, lucky that Stalin could not see the anger in his eyes. "The suffering at all levels has been beyond our imaginings. The German hordes invaded our homeland in 1941, murdering, raping and pillaging across our great land, showing no regard for our civilian population and no respect to our history. And you want my men to be polite to them now?" "Your brave soldiers do not have to be polite, Comrade Zhukov, but they have to be seen to be polite." Stalin was being unusually patient with his commander. After all, the war was over, and the victory had gone Russia's way. "I will issue the written order for no retaliation against civilians, and I will take the flak from Churchill and the Americans, if there are 1 or 2 violations. Churchill and I get along famously. The man is a fine drinker, and I am thinking he must have a little Russian blood in him from somewhere in the past. He will understand that your men have to let off steam, and I will make arrangements to have any, what shall we call them, accidents, dealt with in a manner that will satisfy our allies." After taking their turn with the girl, some of the Russians lit a fire and found several dead heck cattle in their bombed-out enclosure at the zoo. They cut up one of the animals and cooked the meat over open fires, eating voraciously. "This is better than horse meat, Ilya. Horse, dogs, rats, who cares? Meat is meat. However, vodka, now that is something different and must be taken seriously."